All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive with me. And
Yeah.
you know me, I'm the host here.
And as always, I'm the expert for this topic. And
Today we're talking all about something that honestly just like blew my mind when I first saw it. And
yeah, I was surprised too.
so it all started with this article I read about WWE fans
Oh yeah, Debbie. Yeah.
in Toronto, and they
Yeah.
they kind of decided to do their own version of the Star Spangled Banner. Let's just say
A little bit of a remix.
a remix, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it really got me thinking about this whole
Yeah.
like relationship between
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
U.S. and Canada right now, because like on the surface everything seems fine, right?
Yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
mean, our countries have always been like pretty close.
Yeah.
You know, we're neighbors, we're friends, but
Best friends.
yeah, best friends. But there's definitely some tension, brewing under the surface, and
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like this whole thing with the WWE fans, it's kind of like
yeah.
a symptom of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a symptom for sure. I think it's a really interesting example of how like sports and politics
Right.
can get all tangled up together.
Totally tangled up. And you know what I mean? Like people get so passionate about both of those things. So when they collide,
Yeah,
they can get pretty explosive.
it can get messy.
Yeah. So anyway, let's like break this whole thing down. All right. So
Yeah.
we've got this WWE event, Elimination Chamber,
Big event
huge event, March 1st in Toronto,
in Canada.
in Canada, right?
Yeah,
And Canadian singer Elizabeth Irving.
very talented.
Yeah, super talented. Singing the U.S. national anthem.
Yeah,
And the crowd is like 38,000 people,
packed house,
packed house. And they start booing,
loudly.
like loudly.
You couldn't even hear her singing.
I watched a video of it and like
Ah.
I literally could not hear the word.
It was just a wall of boos.
It was insane. I mean, have you ever seen anything like that?
Not quite like that. I mean, you see booing in sports sometimes.
Yeah. Great.
But usually it's directed at like the opposing team or a player. But
Yeah.
booing a national anthem, that's a
whole other,
statement.
yeah, that's like you said, a statement.
It's a big statement.
So like what's going on here?
Well, I think it's safe to say that
Yeah.
there's some resentment towards the U.S. bubbling up there.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't really talk about this without talking about Trump.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Right. He's been making some pretty provocative statements about Canada lately.
Dude, he's been like straight up throwing shade.
Yeah, remember that Fox News interview?
Oh my God, yeah.
Where he said Canada would be better off as like the 51st state?
I was like, what?
Like, seriously.
And then the whole thing about the U.S. losing $200 billion.
Oh, yeah, that was a doozy.
I mean, like, where's he even getting that number from?
It's probably a combination of things like defense spending.
Oh, okay.
The U.S. does spend money to help protect Canada.
Makes sense.
And then there's the trade deficit, which basically means the U.S. imports more from Canada than it exports.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, it's a complicated figure, and whether it's really a loss is debatable.
Yeah, for sure.
But politically, it's a soundbite.
It gets people riled up.
It gets attention.
And it probably didn't sit well with a lot of Canadians.
No, probably not.
I mean, especially coming from the U.S. president.
It carries some weight.
Right. So then you've got like the reactions to all of this, and oh my God, people are fired up.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see what Pat McAfee said?
Former NFL star,
Yeah. And WWE commentator?
big personality,
He went off on Twitter calling Canada a terrible country
not holding back.
for booing the anthem. I was like, whoa, dude, chill.
Yeah, strong words.
But it shows you how much this stuff like really matters to people.
Yeah, it's tied up with national pride.
Exactly.
Patriotism.
And then, on the other side, you have the fans who are like
Yeah,
using this as a way to protest,
absolutely.
They're not happy with Trump's policies, and this is their way of like making their voices heard.
Yeah, and it's not the first time we've seen this kind of thing happen.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the Toronto Raptors fans?
Oh, yeah. At that NBA game.
They booed the anthem too.
Crazy, right?
It's definitely a trend.
It's a trend. So, like, where does this all leave us?
Well, I think it's a sign that
No.
things are changing. The relationship between the U.S. and Canada, it's not as simple as it used to be.
Yeah.
There's this like undercurrent of tension.
Yeah.
And it's bubbling up in these like unexpected ways.
Yeah, like at a wrestling event.
Exactly.
Who would have thought?
And, you can't ignore the fact that Trump has also imposed these new tariffs on Canadian imports.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that's adding fuel to the fire.
Definitely not helping.
It's creating this like economic friction
Yeah.
on top of the political tension.
So, like, is this just going to keep escalating?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely something to watch.
Oh, yeah.
This whole incident, it raises a lot of questions about, like, the power of symbols, national anthems.
Yeah.
what they represent
Right.
and how they can be used to express these really complex emotions.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, are we going to see more of this?
Yeah.
More political stuff spilling over into the world of sports.
It's a possibility for sure. I mean, sports have always been like a reflection of society.
Right.
So as society changes, sports change too.
And right now, society's pretty damn divided.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, so before we wrap this up,
Yeah.
there's one more thing I got to bring up.
Okay.
Okay. So, how we were talking about the connection between Trump and WWE?
Yeah.
It's actually, like, way deeper than I realized.
Oh, really?
Okay, so first of all, Trump was, like, getting endorsements from all these WWE Hall of Famers during his campaign.
Like who?
Like Hulk Hogan,
Oh, wow.
Stone Cold,
Wow.
Steve Austin, like big names.
Yeah, big names.
And then, get this, Linda McMahon?
Vince McMahon's ex-wife.
Yeah, the former CEO of WWE.
Right.
She's Trump's education secretary.
No way.
I know. I was like, what?
That's wild.
It's crazy, right?
It adds a whole other layer to this, doesn't it?
It's like, what's going on here?
I mean, it makes you wonder if this whole anthem booing thing.
It's just going to stay confined to the wrestling world.
Yeah.
Or if it could have some kind of like ripple effect.
On U.S.-Canada relations.
Exactly. It's like a tangled web.
It's a mess.
It's juicy, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's fascinating to see how all these different pieces fit together.
Yeah, I never would have thought that wrestling and international politics
Right.
would be so intertwined.
It's a strange world we live in.
All right, so let's try to sum this all up.
Okay.
We've got Canadian WWE fans booing the U.S. anthem,
Yeah.
probably because of all the stuff Trump's been saying and doing.
Likely a factor.
And then we've got these strong reactions on both sides.
Yeah, people are passionate.
And it's highlighting these big questions about, national identity
Yeah.
and the role of symbols. And then you throw in this whole WWE Trump connection.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, this is a lot more complicated than I thought.
It's a deep dive for
It's
sure.
a deep dive.
Yeah.
So I guess, the big question is, where do
Yeah.
we go from here? Yeah.
What does this all mean?
Right. Is this just a blip on the radar?
Yeah.
Or is it a sign of, a bigger shift in the relationship between the U.S. and Canada?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as you're thinking about it, I want you to consider this.
Okay.
What does this incident tell us about the evolving relationship between sports and politics?
Mm-hmm.
Are we seeing a blurring of lines
Interesting.
where sports arenas become platforms for political expression?
Yeah.
And if so, what are the implications of that?
Whoa.
That's something to ponder, I think.
It's a big question.
It is a big question.
Right. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And be sure to check back soon for another deep dive
The
into.
world's biggest stories.
Yeah, see you next time.
See ya.